In this video lecture, we're going to discuss how to conduct a contextual inquiry session. Let's review the basics of what contextual inquiry is. We defined it last time. We talked about three basic principles that underlie it. We explained why contextual inquiry provides good data and why it's a good method to use. We emphasized the participant is the expert, that not you, the researcher, but the participant. We talked about three different variations of conducting a contextual inquiry, and we talked about how to prepare for a contextual inquiry session. In the remainder of this video lecture, we'll talk about things you actually need to do while you are doing the contextual inquiry. The first thing, you need to arrive in observer pairs. Now, I said arrive. You're usually going to do a contextual inquiry in person, so you go to a work site and watch people in their natural habitat. You can also do it remotely. It's not quite as effective, I don't think, because you aren't able to look around the room, see what's going on, see who else is there, see what the air temperature is like, etc. You aren't able to record this data, but at the same time, you can do it remotely. Either case, if you are doing it face-to-face or remotely, it's a good idea to do this in pairs. One person is the one who is dedicated to speaking to the participant. The other is the person who is doing the audio-visual. So they are in charge of all the tech, whether it's recording audio, recording video, recording screen captures, what have you. That one researcher does the talking. The other researcher is in charge of taking notes. Why do you do that? It's because if you go to a site or observe remotely and do it solo and you're taking notes, you are bound to miss something important. You're listening to the user, they say something, you bend your head right in the notebook, and just as you bend your head, they go and do something, and that something that you missed them doing, that's the key to success. So you want to have observer pairs. When you introduce yourselves, make sure that you say in a professional way who you are, what you're doing, etc., and also emphasize the focus of inquiry. Remind the user, you're looking at the product. You are not looking at them. They are not being tested. This is not an IQ test. This is not a test of their success or failure. It's of the product you are looking at. So you don't want to be these people looking over the desk and intimidating them. Instead, you want to emphasize that you are here, you are being friendly, you are professional, and you want to see how do they use this product because you're interested in the product. On that note, emphasize that the participant is the expert at hand. They are the ones who are awesome. You are there to watch and learn from the masters, the people who actually have to use this thing. Whatever they do is correct. I mean, whatever it is, even if they're using it completely the wrong way. Your job is just to sit, be quiet, and observe what's going on. You are there to learn from them. You need to respect the participants' rights. One of those rights is the right to quit at any time they want to. It is unethical and actually illegal, it's kidnapping, if you trap your participants. So if they decide that they don't feel comfortable, they want you to leave, that's fine. You just say, thank you for your time, you pack up, and you go. Don't fuss, don't try to convince them, just say, okay, thanks very much for your time, and that's it. Similarly, one of the rights you have to observe is informed consent. You have to make sure that your users know what it is you're doing. How are you going to treat them? What are you going to do with the data afterwards? All of these ideas we've already discussed in our discussions of informed consent, so make sure you get a signature on a form. It is both ethically required and legally required. When you're doing a contextual inquiry session, there are different variations. Quick review. We have a typical workday in which you ask questions as the participant goes along. There's the post-observation question method. You ask questions only after the participant is done doing the thing. And the artifact walkthrough, in which you have the participant recreate a past activity. Please note that when you're doing an artifact walkthrough, you can do it either with the typical workday or post-observation question method, but generally speaking, you have the two big categories of doing it live or recreating something that has been done in the past. probe for information as you go along. The thing is, you don't want to be annoying, though, right? So, you can ask questions like, what are you doing? What did you expect when you did that? That's interesting. Can you tell me more about that? The big deal here, if you'll notice, is I'm avoiding the word why. The reason we want to avoid why is that people will start to justify themselves. They'll invent things. Whether or not it's true or not, they'll start to make up reasons. Oh, I did this because. We don't want that. We want actual data. We want people's spontaneous thoughts, not generated to please you. And also, asking why is really, really annoying.
Welcome to 20 Questions with Brian Gumble.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first of what we hope will be many installments of 20 Questions. On this show, we'll meet faces in the news, be it sports, entertainment, or politics. What separates this show from the rest is that I'm only allowed to ask 20 questions, therefore presenting a challenge to me, my guest, and to you, the viewer. I'm very pleased to welcome as my first guest one of the stars of the hit ABC television show Roseanne. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Gilbert. Sarah, welcome to 20 Questions.
Thank you, Brian.
Now, Roseanne has become a big success. Why?
Well, I guess we struck a nerve with people across America. There's no formula to having a hit. I wish I knew how to make a hit series.
Why?
Why? Because if I knew how to make a hit series, I'd be very wealthy.
Why?
Because I think you know, Bryant, a hit series brings in a lot of money. It's very profitable.
Indeed. And even though you are on a very highly rated television show, you decided to leave. Why?
Well, because I decided to go to college, Bryant. I felt it was important for me that I continue to learn.
Why?
Because.
Because why?
Because what is life if you aren't learning? I just don't ever want to be bored.
Why?
I don't know why.
Why?
Look, let's move on, Bryant.
You've become very...
You get the idea of what's going on. So let us just continue.
popular with a large segment of today's youth. And
There it goes. So, when you're conducting a contextual inquiry session, you also want to make note of what it is participants are doing, their actions. So, what is their body language telling you? What are the things that they are doing with the product that you are testing? So, are people leaning forward? Generally speaking, if they lean forward, they're interested or working hard. If they lean backward, they tend to be, disengaged. They really aren't into things if they're leaning backward, or perhaps they need to stop and think. If people's eyes go unfocused, sometimes that indicates they're thinking hard. The eye rolls, those are never good for the product, like, ugh, this thing. A moo. Now, if you don't know what a moo is, it's this. That face of, derp. If people look surprised, that's a sign. A pause. Somebody's working along, pauses. What are they pausing at? That's interesting. If they hesitate, so move along, which is it? I need to, okay. If they have a workaround, so if there's an official way to do something, but instead of going to it through that particular path, they use a different path. So, for example, opening a document on Microsoft Word. How can you do it? Well, you can do it multiple ways. When you open up Word, you can go through the menu and click on a list of files. You can hit Control-O to open a dialog box. You can go to the File menu, drop down, select Open. Which way are they going? What is the job that they're doing? How are they getting around some sort of thing that they don't like? Whatever it is, take note of it. This sort of stuff is the data that you need. Similarly, you need to make note of what participants say and, well, not even say, but the noises they make. Sometimes you'll have them do a task, you'll ask them questions like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing X. And they'll explain why they're doing it. Well, that's good to know. Also as revealing are some offhand or muttered comments. Like, oh yeah, this thing. Oh no, this again. I hate this. Oh yeah. Whatever it might be. Those muttered things some sub-vocalizations people don't even realize they're saying sometimes. These can be really, really interesting. Things like sighs. Is a sigh ever good? No. Confessions. Ooh. When you talk about confessions, sometimes people will be telling you, well, I'm supposed to do this, but I don't like it. Instead, I do this other thing. This is the official way to do it, but what we actually do is blank. That's important to know. Also, mismatches between what people say and what they do. If they're telling you one thing and doing another, that's really interesting. Is it that they don't understand what's happening? Are they mistaken about it? Are they somehow trying to mislead you, mislead themselves? Who knows? These mismatches, those are fascinating. You also want to member check your interpretation. What member checking means is you go and you talk to your participant. So you've taken all your notes and you want to know, did I understand this correctly? So asking them will let you do a couple of things. It'll let you correct your errors, or if you're somehow biased, then your member checking by asking the participant, so I noticed you did this. I interpreted it as blank. Is that correct? You have a chance to get your feedback. Also, when you do that, sometimes your participant will be in the mood to talk more. Like, oh yeah, you totally got that right. Here's what I was thinking. Or, oh no, that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking this other thing. So you're getting more information from your participants. By doing that, you're also empowering them. This is a really, really good thing. We want to try and treat our participants as full collaborators. They are not people to whom we are doing things. They're people who we are working with. And they'll feel like that if you member check with them. They'll feel better about it. Also, this reinforces the idea of collaboration, that equality. You are not the expert coming in. Instead, you are asking them questions about their expertise, and that makes them feel like they are at an equal level with you, the researcher. Once you're done with the session itself, take your data and analyze it. There are multiple ways of analyzing qualitative data of this sort, but the big deal here is I want you to review the original focus. Try to remember what is it exactly we were looking at. Then, refine or maybe refocus the data on things that are important to the user. So in the comic here, the researcher is not really focused on the things that the user is interested in. The user is steaming mad, but the researcher is like, oh yeah, well, okay, how about this? No. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we are focused on what it is that the user wants. What is the participant concerned about? So when we're talking about a particular product, we may be interested in how fast they can get from point A to point B to complete the task. But maybe that turns out to not be a problem after all. Maybe the task itself is silly. Or maybe we need to add some steps. Maybe we need to subtract. Whatever it may be, make sure that you focus on the issues that are important to the user. Then, once you've got all your data together and you have it making sense, put it into some actionable format. Make sure that you can actually do something with the data. If you can't do anything with the information you've gathered, then it's no good. So let's briefly review everything we've talked about so far. You want to visit in pairs. You want to introduce yourselves. Make sure you emphasize the project's focus, emphasizing that the participant is the expert. You need to respect the participant's rights. You need to use an appropriate approach while doing the inquiry itself. You need to probe for information from your participant. You need to collect visible and audible data. Member check your impressions after you have taken the data down. Analyze it and get it ready to go. That's the end of this video lecture. If you have any questions, please contact me.